be the 13th because the 2nd and 4th. So the 13th of May, we're hosting conference at the high school for track. Starts at 4:30, I think. What's that? Oh, it was last year. Yeah, that's when they do the track meets. But we're hosting it this year at the high school. Week after.
Good afternoon, everyone. The March 25th, 2024 Fond du Lac Board of Education meeting is now called to order. Could we have the roll call, please?
Certainly. Godfrey.
Here.
Henschel.
Here.
Horth. Here. Motor.
Here.
Pinau.
Here.
Uselman here. Schreider.
Here.
Thank you.
We have established a quorum, and for the secretary's point, it was called to order at 5 p.m.
Thank you.
Please join me in a moment of reflection, and then by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have two announcements. The first one is following adjournment of the regular meeting, the board will convene in a workshop to discuss district benefits renewal planning. And for the second announcement, I am going to hand it over to Dr. Flagg.
Thank you, President Schreider. I just want to share with the board and with the viewing audience who are at home tonight, as well as the audience that is here this evening, that to make a statement regarding the spelling bee cancellation that was announced last week. I received communication from community members, stakeholders, all of you have, and some of you have talked to me about that. I think the important thing here is that I'm willing to have a conversation on reinstating the spelling bee. I've tasked Matt Steinbarth and Brad Narrett to meet with our partner schools who are not in our district to share in the responsibility of directing the spelling bee. It takes an enormous amount of time and effort, and our partners will need to step up to help keep this going. And right now, with Mr. Narrett running it, he has an obligation to his school and to ensure that students are learning, and this pulls away from his day-to-day duties. So to that end, as I said before, Mr. Steinbarth and Mr. Narrett, I'm going to be reaching out to our partner schools to gauge their interest in going on a rotating basis of directing it and putting the spelling bee together every year. And we will be more than happy to host at Tyson each year, but I think we all have to share in the responsibility of putting this together. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. We have now come up to our first public comment session. Before we get to the public comment, I will once again reference 0167.3, public comment at board meetings, reminding our participants that the presiding officer is guided by the following rules. Letter F, all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. Letter G, the presiding officer will interrupt, warn, or terminate if the participant's statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. The presiding officer will request any individual to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. The presiding officer will request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of a disorderly person when that person's conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting. And finally, the presiding officer may call for a recess or an adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting to warrant such action. With that being said, please remember, 5 minutes per person, 10 minutes per topic. The dais is now open for those that would like to approach the board.
My name is Richard Gedimer of 49 Aurora Lane, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Hello, Fond du Lac and Fond du Lac School Board and the members in this room. Tonight, I do actually want to say directly to a person, because I can't come here next time. Thank you, Linda. I want to say good luck to you in your future. You know, I look back on the 3 years that I've spent with you on the board, and I have to say that some of the highlights of my time on the board were spent interacting with you. I hope that in your future it brings great things to you and your family, and I hope that collectively, some point in the future, you'll meet other people like me or my friend Jim back there, because I think we represent diversity, and it was good challenging conversations at times. I think if overall, if you look at the last 4 years on the school board, I think those are some of the most important years for the school district. Things have really changed from my perspective. They've moved to a system of management that's based on quantitative analysis in utilizing data to manage and try to help the students achieve. And I think that that's great, and I think that sets the tone for future generations. So, you know, I look back fondly on the 3 years I spent, and I wanted to come down here tonight and say, thank you, Linda. Thank you for your time on the board, and thank you for listening to my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Gedimer.
Jim Hess, thank you. I just want to also say, thank you, Linda, for the years that you've served on the board. You've done a great job, and I'm not sure if you're going to be here next meeting or not, but I want to just make sure that you know that I appreciate what you've done. The Federal National Education Association, with the state WEAC Teachers Union, push programs to create a safe school climate for students and staff. All part of DEI, a Marxist indoctrinating machine. These unions offer opportunities for educators to practice dismantling systems of oppression, like white privilege, that affect LGBTQ+ and BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color students. But who's offering a safe place for academically excelling white kids when they have to be put in with slower students in order to have an equal playing field? DEI Marxism is equal opportunity for academic ineptitude. And I'm going to touch on the spelling bee because thank you, Dr. Flagg, for sharing that. But from how I understood it, it was going to be terminated. It was actually deemed racist from my understanding of the article in the Reporter. Even though the 2024 B winner was a minority, even though spelling has been a value component of our academic culture, even though spelling is an essential skill, even though the first official spelling bee sponsored Bill Graves, 1976 editor of the Fond du Lac Reporter, stressed the importance of and power of words, especially those in the Declaration of Independence. That was in that article. But what was the reason for the termination? And, according to the article, Fond du Lac District mission is inclusion, the I in the DEI. Number 2 was spelling bees require rote memorization. That excludes some students. But studies show students that memorize do better academically. Number 3 was stress and pressure on students who didn't make the spelling competition contribute to anxiety in their life and negatively impacts their overall learning experience. Did we ask the students that have difficulty memorizing whether they felt the spelling bee competition negatively impacted their overall learning? You would have found out that most kids accept that they're just not good spellers. I mean, I was not a good speller. I just accepted it. I didn't get upset with students who were good spellers. But they should be encouraged to applaud the success of those who have that gift, just like we applaud and encourage an athlete on the field. The statement finally in the Fond du Lac Reporter goes on to say, the Fond du Lac District would rather, quote, would rather allow students to explore their strengths without fear of failure, unquote. Administration and board, and thank you that you made this, but you are taking away, if you would have, students that excel in spelling, the ability to explore their strengths, and making these academically excellent students feel like they are the oppressors, when in reality, you are the oppressors, if you would have stopped this, and our children would have been the oppressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. Anyone else wanting to approach the board during this time?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dan Ireland, Sally Avenue, Fond du Lac. I've heard here in the meetings that the University of Virginia is helping with bringing the grade levels, the scoring levels up on reading, writing, and arithmetic in the Fond du Lac school systems. But there's another thing going on with the University of Virginia that amazed me, and what I haven't heard it anywhere else, but the University of Virginia is currently spending $20 million on 235 DEI employees, with some making way over what anybody here makes, way over $500,000, the top salary. I'm not going to read all their salaries, that'd be kind of boring, but they did say that it would take nearly 1,000 graduates or undergraduate students to bankroll their salaries. This information comes from openthebooks.com from Illinois. They have, besides the 235 employees, they also employ 82 students. And the University of Florida evaluated this situation, and they decided to dismiss the bureaucracy, the DEI bureaucracy. They've saved the taxpayers per year $5 million so far, that had to terminate 13 full-time DEI administrators. No such luck, though, for learning at the University of Virginia, flagship school started by Thomas Jefferson. The university has become deeply involved in the DEI infrastructure. Reform or abolition must wait to this summer to anticipate changes in the school board of visitors. At least until then, the very highly compensated, generally non-teaching DEI staffers are safely embedded in the entire university system of Virginia. Our team of auditors reviewed their payroll in 2023 and sorted out the head positions. And besides the salary that they are getting, they're also getting plenty of fringe benefits too. Vehicles, moving expenses, housing. And in summary, University of Virginia, founded by Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson's work presented the moral case for common freedom among all men. The university had a historic opportunity to promote the time-tested principles of freedom, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, maybe the pursuit of education too. But DEI staff are not giving them education. Instead of working towards the ideal of a shining city on the hill,
About 30 seconds, Mr. Iron.
Jefferson's principles, his university embraced the divisive quotas of neo-Marxist DEI crowd. Tens of millions of dollars in students' tuitions and taxpayer money are being wasted at the university. And I thought you might want to know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Megan Stroop. I work at Parkside School. I was here a few months ago, and I was able to brag a little bit about Parkside. But one piece that's really instrumental and important is to also brag about our special education staff. So if I can just bend your ears for a few minutes, I'd love to share with you some amazing work that our special education staff is doing this year. There have been many reports of some of our nonverbal students who are beginning to engage and respond using their communication devices. So we have nonverbal students that they have these devices, and these devices have the use of pictures as well as words. Teachers can communicate with students this way. Students can communicate with teachers, and peers can communicate with each other as well. They take these devices home, and they're able to use them at home. So I'm actually the aunt of a student who used to go to Parkside and now goes to Waters. She's used this device since she was 4. And not to get emotional, but it's a huge deal. So at Parkside, we have some students that are using these devices as well. And they're doing a beautiful job of responding. They're demonstrating increased independence throughout the school day with these devices. And something that's really amazing, and I've seen it in action, we have staff members who have been working actively to make sure that there's some collaboration in which all students can better understand what these communication devices are and why they're being used, and so that all students can communicate with students who are using these devices. So it's very inclusive. Special education staff are also reporting that student behaviors are improving wonderfully with the use of visuals. So that's very important. Academic growth is being seen across our 3-5 students, our 3rd through 5th grade students who are receiving services, especially in reading. One of our teachers reports that 2 of our students have grown by 2 reading levels so far, which I know, it's amazing. It's really just something to be proud of. And then our special education staff is collaborating with our occupational therapist to develop a sensory space to help our students with regulation. And just on a professional level, personal level, I just want to give a special shout out to our special education staff, but most especially our instructional assistants. A lot of the work that they do, they do it so efficiently and so well, but it's not necessarily always seen or noticed how instrumental they are to make sure that the flow of the day within the general education classroom continues that learning for every single child, so that every child is getting the education that they deserve and that they should be getting every single day. And then I just want to end with it, so that's what I have to report on special education. But since I'm here, we are well underway with Wisconsin Forward. Last week we started, we're continuing this week. And our 3rd through 5th grade students are just walking through our halls with like complete confidence. They are very prepared for these tests. They keep telling us after they've taken it, you know what, that was really easy. We are so prepared. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's been involved with that throughout the community, but most especially to our students who are doing the work at hand. They're working extremely hard. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Is there anyone else that'd like to approach the board during this first public comment session? Seeing none, we'll move on to individually considered, approval of consent resolution agenda. The board members have been provided background material and information on each item or have discussed it at a previous meeting. These items will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. Any board member may remove an item from the agenda. This item will be discussed and voted on separately under the agenda item of individually considered resolutions.
I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. A, Chief of Finance Operations. Number 1, resignations. Amy Banky, first grade teacher at Parkside Elementary School, effective June 10, 2024. Lisa Hawks Lapine, Toset Evans Elementary School, effective June 10, 2024. And Bailey Mitchell, special ed teacher at Tyson Middle School, effective March 15, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey to approve the consent agenda. Could we have the roll, please?
Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Horth.
Yes.
Motor.
Yes.
Pinau.
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Schreider.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. We will now move on to individually considered resolutions.
I move the Board of Education approve the 2024-25 four-year-old early learning program provider agreements with the following providers: Model 2 sites, Camelot Children's Center, Christian Parents for Kids, Mary Linsmore School, YMCA, Hope Lutheran Preschool, Kids Choice Learning Center, Lily Pad Learning Center, Shiny Stars Learning Center, Model 3, Advocap Head Start.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Godfrey, seconded by Mr. Henschel. Mr. Gerlach?
Thank you, Mr. Schreier. This is, for those of you who've been on the board, and this is a model that the district's engaged with for 20 years, roughly, where we have partnerships with providers in the community to offer four-year-old kindergarten services, primarily for the benefit that education that provides, that early learning experience. And there's two models. You may recall last year we made a commitment to allow some of the ones that have been Model 3 where they employ the teacher to convert to a Model 2 where we employ the teacher, and that's for the educational purposes and to enhance the program. And so that's why you see the majority are in the Model 2s this year again. And Terry Lair, our director, we meet and she reports with Dr. Flagg and our team, and success with that. And so the reimbursements we're holding at the same rates as last year, and I include the enrollments below. The district spends last year a little under $500,000 in providing this four-year-old provider system program. So at that point, I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Any questions at all? This is pretty yearly update, straightforward. Seeing that there are no questions, can we have the roll, please?
Henschel,
Yes.
Worth,
Yes.
Motor,
Yes.
Panau,
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Godfrey,
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. Next up was to consider the Director of English Language and Bilingual Programming recommendation.
I move the Board of Education approve an administrative contract for Dr. Joseph Moylan
Moylan.
as the Director of English Language and Bilingual Program effective April 3rd, 2024 at a prorated salary of $30,601.52, which is 63 days based on an annual salary of $126,296 for the remainder of the 23-24 school year. Salary for the 24-25 school year will be determined when salaries are established for the 24-25 school year.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey. And we're going to turn this one over to Dr. Flagg.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to bring Mr. Moylan before you tonight for considered for your approval. He has served as a teacher, counselor, principal, and most recently assistant professor at Cardinal Stritch University. Prior to working at Cardinal Stritch, he served as high school principal for 17 years at Oconomowoc High School. Dr. Moylan believes strongly that each and every student should have an outstanding education. And additionally, he has experience in leading change at the high school and collegiate level, will be an asset to our district. And I'm really pleased to bring him before you for consideration for approval for this position.
I have a question, and that is, what are the responsibilities?
And so it's going to oversee all our English language learning programming, as well as our bilingual programming that we are building right now, as well as will assist with the supervision of principals and whatnot in terms of ensuring that our students who are emerging bilinguals are getting a great education.
Okay, that's definitely an academic focus.
Absolutely.
More responsibility.
Absolutely.
Also, can we just clarify how this position was chosen? It was an interview process, correct?
Absolutely. With an interview, we had a couple interviews for this job. They had a couple interviews, one with our principal group, as well as one with our administrative group. So it was done a while ago, and we are just right now getting to the point of where we can bring it to you. So we did this back at the end of February. Yes.
Any other questions?
I'd like to remind the board that we are changing each day linguistically in our district. We are becoming more and more linguistically diverse. We need leadership in this area more than ever right now, and it's kind of always been passed around to different administrators, but we've just had such a change in our demographic the last 2 years where our numbers have shot up. And right now we have one school, Parkside, 40% of the students are emerging bilinguals, and we need leadership, and we need professional development planned and whatnot for our teachers so they can be successful teaching our students.
If I remember correctly, when we saw the numbers, we're over 600 students that are in that ELL program, if I remember correctly.
District-wide, Marissa, is that correct? I believe so. 675 for next year, yep.
Yeah, definitely a need. Yeah.
Any other questions? Can we have roll call, please?
Certainly. Horth,
Yes.
Motor,
Yes.
Panau,
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Moylan. Next up will be to consider the Woodworth Middle School principal recommendation.
I move the Board of Education approve administrative contract for Mr. Michael Lytle as the principal at Woodworth Middle School effective July 1st, 2024 at a salary of $116,855 which is 261 days based on the 23-24 administrator salary plan, with the salary for 2024-25 determined when salaries are established for 24-25 school year.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey, to approve a contract for Mr. Lytle. Dr. Flagg?
Yes, we are very fortunate to have Mr. Lytle coming to our district, or for you to consider for his approval. He's been a classroom teacher, and for 12 years as an elementary high school principal. Most recently, he served as a superintendent for the past 7, I believe, in Lakeville School District in Michigan. He is relocating to Wisconsin. His wife has received a different position over here, so they are moving here this summer. I think what really drew me to him is, in addition to the interview process he went through with members of the Woodworth staff and our administrative team, was while serving as superintendent, Mr. Lytle was able to lower the percentage of students with disabilities in the district from 18% to 11%, and did this through collaboration and creation of systems to exit students with disabilities from special education. And his interview was very well received by the Committee of Administrators and staff from Woodworth, and we look forward to working with Mr. Lytle to continue improving outcomes for all students at Woodworth Middle School. So we're fortunate to get him.
When I read that and I saw exit to special ed, that was a negative to me. He graduated them from 18,
No.
or how?
No,
how
they
did that work?
exited from that. They no longer needed
That's what I'm saying.
services.
In my head, I was like, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
he
exit,
helped
yeah, we
them.
call it exit, yeah.
Yeah, when you see exit, it's like, all right, you just push them out?
No, I'm sorry. Okay, that's
I don't want
education
it to be
jargon
a
I'm using.
negative.
No, it's education. I apologize. That's education jargon. So yes,
Yeah.
they were able to have they met the goals of their
Yes.
IP and were able to be dismissed.
Yeah, I just
From the
didn't want it
services.
to,
Thank
I
you.
had to read it like 2-3 times for it. Like,
Sorry
all right,
about
this is a
that.
good thing,
Yep.
not a bad thing.
Sorry about that.
Any other comments or questions regarding Mr. Lytle? Seeing none, can we call the roll, please?
Motor,
Yes.
Pennell,
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Horth,
Yes.
and Schrader.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. I'd like to welcome Mr. Lytle to Woodward, Dr. Moylan, the Fond du Lac School District. Next, we will consider the approval Neola policies, volume 32-2, second reading.
I move the Board of Education approve the suggested revisions to Neola policies in volume 32-2 as presented at the second reading in the attached listing.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Godfrey, seconded by Mr. Henschel. Dr. Flagg?
This is the second reading this evening. Just for the viewing audience, I'd like to review. We had a first reading at the previous meeting, and then we also had a workshop. So this is the final reading. These policies, at the minute you approve them, will go into effect immediately, and then we'll be on to our next update coming soon. We don't know when yet, but it's coming soon. Trust me, it's coming soon. So anyway, tonight's the final reading. Any questions? I might get it in, Linda, just for you, and have one reading. We'll see. I don't want you to miss it.
That easy.
I don't want you to miss all the fun.
And there'll be a cake afterwards. Questions, thoughts, concern for approval? All right, can we have the call?
Yes. Pennell,
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Horth,
Yes.
Motor,
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. Now, we'll move on to board and administrator reports. Dr. Flagg.
Well, good evening, and I just want to, I've shared the slideshow with the board here. Oh, wait, I'm not doing share. Hold on. I got to do a slideshow here. There we go. Okay, so I just want to share with you right now some highlights from the student and parent and caregiver survey report. So a couple high-level results in regard to the student experience. We had 3,744 students take the survey this year. That's down from 5,187 who took it a year ago, and this is due in large part to not surveying kindergarten through second grade. All right, for the grade levels, what happens is we put a smiley face if they strongly agree and an unhappy face if they strongly disagree, and I think most of the students select the positive face. So, and it's a lot of work for them to also log in and navigate the survey, so we just decided to start in third grade. So you're going to see at the elementary that the numbers went down. And that's also why we had less students take it. That's where, because you'll see in the middle school and high school, it's about the same participation from a year ago. The high school student experience survey, all 20 questions, we improved on every one on the student experience. And at the middle school level, 18 of the 20 improved from a year ago. So that's just, it's great when they're positive. And then on the overview on the parent satisfaction from a high level, we had 946 parents take it this year, which is up from 614, over, roughly 330. And all 15 questions of the parent satisfaction survey improved too. So I'm going to take you through the slideshow here, and you all have the slides in front of you. So here we go. So just a quick reminder, especially for the viewing audience here, we use this survey. The student experience survey is used to measure our safety pillar. And the parent satisfaction is used to measure our collaborative culture pillar, which are both a part of our scorecard. So once again, just a reminder with the board that the Studer administers these surveys. They've also helped us develop our strategic plan, our scorecard. We started with them in January 2022. They work with our district to create a culture of engagement, execution, and excellence through the implementation of system-wide continuous improvement through evidence-based leadership practices. As I said, they administer our surveys, and I talked about them assisting in our development of the scorecard, rounding, and we hope to implement stoplight reports in the fall. So just a little bit of background on our partnership with Studer. And also, we really are trying to, hardwire, which is we talk about hardwiring, which is behaviors to achieve results. And we really have three facets to that. It's our partnership with Studer Education. It's a partner with the Darden School of Business at the University of Virginia, as well as Initiative One, which is our leadership development process that we are using. And then the results. So we're going to go over the, what the plus minus change in experience for the student experience, as well as for the parent and caregiver. So here we go. Overall student experience. This is overall for all the students. Our top three most positive changes, you're going to see it just doesn't look very good because it's everybody. And I said our elementary went down quite a bit, but I feel it went down from 4 point.
Small children like smiley faces.
Yeah, they do. They do. But we saw some positive movement on I Feel Safe in the Bus. Went down a little bit, and I believe my principal's a good leader. Still are very positive results there. And also, I believe my learning is important went down a little bit. Both very positive results overall. But I think next year we'll get a better gauge of that. So let's go here to the top three negative change. I like going to school each day. I think our K-1-2 kind of carried us there from a year ago. Shout out to those teachers. And then I feel our students are nice and show respect to each other at school. That went down quite a bit there, down to 30%. Agree or strongly agree. And I think my school is clean went down to about almost 41%. So like I said, it's a little, you can't compare it to last year because we pulled out K2.
Dr. Flager,
Yep.
You might be getting into this later, but did you find when you looked at the middle school and high school that these questions continued to stay high, but that bubble was the elementary for these three specifically?
That's coming in the slides.
Perfect.
So the student experience at the elementary, and like I said, here are the top three most positive changes. They all were negative. As you can see, they went down. I believe my teachers challenged me to think, went down from 4.4 to 4.29. I believe my principal's a good leader, went down from 4.55 a year ago to 4.42. And then I feel my family is treated nicely with respect at school, went down from 4.5 to 4.37. Even though they went down, all those are very strong numbers from the standpoint of the student perspective. Top three negative change, like I said, I like going to school each day. Went down from 3.97 to 3.44. We talked about students being nice at the elementary level. That went down to show respect and are nice to each other. Went down from 3.68 to 3.19. And I feel like I belong at the school. Went down too in the elementary from 4.15 to 3.76. So, as I said, we have to do some. We'll get some better data in a year ago to really gauge what exactly we're working with there. So I think it gives us a good starting point.
And then I have one other clarifying question. Can you disaggregate the elementary by grade level?
No.
Okay.
Middle school experience. Here are the top three positive change. I Feel Safe in the Bus went up a year ago from was 3.44 a year ago to 3.85. really great positive change there, up from 54% of our students agree or strongly agree to 69%. I believe my principal's a good leader, went up from 4.24 to 4.36, which was great to see. And I believe learning is important at my school. Went up from 4.05 to 4.14. So very positive results across our 3 middle schools. Top 3 negative change, I think my school is clean, went down 0.05 from 3.28 to 3.23. I like going to school was exactly the same as a year ago from a mean, but we had a little bit more of the kids who were in the strongly agree and strongly disagree, not much, from 30% to 31. And lastly, I feel like I belong at the school, went up just 0.02. So it was great to see the positive movement at the middle school. High school, I feel safe at school, shot up from 3.03 to 3.22. Went from 34% agree or strongly agree to 41.5%. I believe my principal's a good leader, went from 3.37 to 3.54, which was great to see, up to 56% who agree or strongly agree. And I think my school is clean, shot up from 2.56 to 2.72. So just well done at the high school level. Our top 3 negative change, I enjoy specials or electives. It was very positive to start with, but it still went up a little bit, up 0.04, from 3.84 to 3.88. I believe teachers challenged me to think, went up from 3.63 to 3.68. And I regularly receive feedback from my teachers about my academic progress, went up from 3.27 to 3.33. So still some positive movement, which is great at the high school level. As I said, all 20 questions improved from a year ago. Parent caregiver survey. So a year ago, this was one area we wanted to focus on, was parents receiving feedback from school staff on how well their child is learning. So a year ago it was a 3.38. It went up to 3.63 this year. 51% agree or strongly agree, almost up to 60. That is outstanding. I believe my child is recognized for good work and behavior at school. Went up from 3.79 to 3.94, up from 68% to 71%. And then I received positive phone calls, emails, or notes about my child from school. Went up from 3.31 to 3.42, up 0.11, which was outstanding also. Top 3 negative change. Once again, they're all positive, but this was where we had the lowest change was, I believe my child has necessary classroom supplies and equipment for effective learning. Went up 0.03. Still have 85% of our students agree or strongly agree. That's just a tribute that we were able to have the right equipment, textbooks, technology for our students to use. I believe the school is clean and well maintained. Went up to 4.33 from 4.29, 88.9%. And I believe school administration makes decisions in the best interest of children and families. Went up 0.05 from 3.81 to 3.86. So once again, our top 3 negative change were all positive. So we grew from a year ago, and also we had outstanding participation from the parents. Like I said, the purpose of the results rollout is to connect with those we serve, to increase trust and engagement. We'll post the results on our website. It's to build trust, transparency, and awareness for the organization. And by focusing on the data allows leaders to drive the work of the strategic plan. And once again, we will use the results will be used to develop new goals for our scorecard. And we will share the results will be shared publicly in the near future as schools get an opportunity to share with their staff. The schools just shared their employee engagement. They will share these results by buildings or by their individual schools. And once again, just to be a little redundant, we will use it to develop new scores for our scorecard. And just a reminder of the progress that's been made in 3 years. I think it's really transformational for the school district. As I shared this at the last meeting, is that in 2021, 5 of 14 schools in the Fond du Lac School District exceeded expectations on the state report card. 9 of 14 exceed it now. 3 of 14 schools in 2021 failed to meet expectations. Now 1 does. And then in 2021, our school district was ranked 375 out of 420. We were in the 10th percentile of all school districts in the state of Wisconsin. We are now ranked 286 out of 420, and we are now in the 31st percentile. So I'm excited to see how we perform this spring, and we'll probably move up even more, just based on our early data that we've been looking at this year. So that's a huge celebration. So once again, just a tribute to our teachers and our principals for the work they're doing in our schools to really drive the strategic plan, as well as ensure that there is a priority on safety and learning for our kids.
And this presentation will be on the district website, correct? Yeah,
We will
okay.
post, yes, we'll post results, yes.
So one question or one clarification, just if you can touch base on that. From the elementary level, not having the K through 2, even though those numbers did go down, and we know where that went down, there is still going to be some discussion around those numbers based off of the results that they've gotten from grades 3 through 5 in each of the buildings to ensure that we are looking at moving forward and improving them and not just relying on, well, we didn't have K through 2.
Absolutely. So each principal will get their individual school results, and they'll be able to see where are the areas that they need to work on, and then they will write goals from there as well as be strategic, just like they did with the one of the big goals was the feedback this year to parents.
Good. Any other questions or thoughts for Dr. Flagg? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Dr. Flagg.
Yep.
Second part, right back to Dr. Flagg.
Yes, this is an annual notification. Each year, a group of students and some staff from Riverside go down to Indianapolis for the Cardinal Skippers. So they are going down over spring break. I have to notify you because they're traveling out of state, and it's just an outstanding opportunity for the students to compete in a jump roping competition. So anyway, it's more than that, but anyway, it's really a great opportunity. So it's just I have to inform the board of that they're going out of state. Okay, so that's all I have for you there this evening.
All right, thank you, Dr. Flagg. We'll now move on to board member, student, and staff activities. Mrs. Horth.
I think 2 weeks ago was Fine Arts Night at Lakeshore, so that was a couple of the grades had like their spring concert singing songs, and then all of the art was on display, which was neat to see, and interacting with all of the kids who were super excited to show their parents and grandparents and neighbors and whoever was there all of their art. And then also they had the choir and the orchestra, and I did not realize they had orchestra at the elementary level, so that was an interesting experience. That's all I got.
Okay.
My daughter did orchestra in grade school. So, actually, I was fortunate this last week, worked from home a couple days, so I actually got into more schools. So, visited Fondy Central, saw what we were doing over there, some of the acuity grants that we invested in, some different tables and chairs and things like that. I got to interact with some of the students. It was kind of fun. A couple of them I actually coached in their younger years. So seeing that they're making progress of getting their degrees and moving forward. So from there, I was able to go to Parkside. They were testing that day. So I had, I know it was Gina Marciano, but Gina Schneider was monitoring the halls as we were walking through, making sure that we were quiet as we walked through. But I did get to see some of the special ed, and I appreciate that, Mrs. Strupp. They're doing amazing things over there at Parkside, so thank you guys for doing that. The other one, I got to go to Chigwin. I was fortunate they were doing the afternoon performance for their fine arts with the chorus, orchestra, band, and they're doing it for the other students, which was kind of nice, especially middle of the afternoon or middle of the morning. It was good to see the participation. We all hope it gets better and have more kids involved, and I like that they perform for the school because hopefully other kids will say, well, can I do that? You know, and get more involved in some of those activities. And then I also was able to get through Sabish and got to stop in a few rooms there, and so that was fun to see what they were doing too. So,
Excellent.
Yeah, I just got to see our student art is being featured in the Langdon Divers Gallery at the library, if anyone did not know that. And we also did Bubble Mania for the last time for Pi Day, and then also other Roseno volunteering and a couple of visits over to Fondy High.
All right, Mr. Godfrey.
I got nothing. I've been working and doing other things, so I have not been done anything, so.
Mrs. Moore?
I want to thank Principal Mr. Mikulkavich. I had some questions regarding the tardy policy at the high school and what that information looked like, how, and so he met with me and we went through some data together that cleared up some information, and he took time to disaggregate some of that data that I had questions regarding and took some feedback. So I was really happy about what he was able to share. It was good, and the amount of students in classrooms learning. And he shared a story of a student who started out as a freshman and was tardy 35 times, and is a sophomore now and was tardy only once in a month. And so I thought that was pretty powerful, the student in classrooms. And then he also shared with me, I'm not going to get the language correct, and so maybe Mr. Steinbarth can help me, but there is some ACT prep work that they do at the high school level, or maybe you can, Dr. Flagg. It's where students can go on and practice taking shorter tests and then practice to see what the questions are like. And from what Mr. Mikulkavich showed me is there were a number of students that interacted and practiced either in classrooms or on their own, which will make a big difference. And even from that practice, it compares how other districts are doing as far as their practice and how students are performing, and ours were above the average just in the performing that was done there. So that was really great. Both pieces of information was really great. So thank you to the high school teachers for focusing on that and supporting kids in that work.
Thank you.
Well, I was able to meet with Jessica Hughes, and I have said many times to many people that I believe that our schools and education is second only to the family and its in its development of society as a whole and its development of the individual. So that is what has sparked my interest in the academic teacher-parent teams. And in my discussion with her, we reviewed, and we talked about this briefly last time, the process as well as the findings. And the findings, in my mind, the findings are reported in the report card, but and they have been all very positive with the exception of 3 years when you look across the last 10 years. And I can give you specifics if you want to hear specifics. But what I see it is in the APTT, they create an opportunity for a strong school bond and a commitment to mutual goal setting between the parents and the teachers. All of this, which is evidenced in the Riverside report cards, strengthening the learning of the students at Riverside. However, when you look at, for instance, between the year looking after the pandemic, there was a 13% after the second year after the pandemic in 21 and 22 year of 13%, which translates, as we know, into a 22% increase. So all of this data is correlational, and you cannot say that it is causational. But the Riverside does have some case study data, which is evidenced by parent communication. So I'd like to read a couple of these, more than a couple. Parents can feel that, this is coming from parents. The responses from parents were both beneficial comments as well as concerned comments. And the parents feel that Riverside cares more about has a better sense that Riverside cares about their children. Opportunity to get to know the teachers and other parents. Relationships with parents beyond the school walls. They get to see what the kids are working on, learn techniques to help children at home, provided with specific strategies to support learning at home, Great to learn that what children are learning instead of seeing the final product. Enjoy sitting in the child's classroom. It makes me feel more connected to the school, gives an opportunity to connect in a more personal level with the school. And some of the concerns expressed by parents were, I wish there would be one more time to talk one-on-one with the teacher. The team program allows for one-on-one teacher-parent conference, but this is an expression of wishing for more. Could we condense the 3 nights into 2 nights? And that, I think, is kind of a parallel comment with, could we have maybe one more parent-teacher conference? There were also 2 concerns expressed that there's kind of a lag time during the last 10 to 15 minutes when the families are practicing activities to partake and to transfer to use it at home. And they said the last 10 to 15 minutes tend to be downtime in the classroom with the parents. Could APTT be 10 to 15 minutes shorter? We get through stuff quickly, so there is a time frame in which we sit. And lastly, the concern comment was more of an explanation on the concepts that are driving the classroom activities so that the parents can have a deeper understanding of what is being taught. So all in all, I see this as a 3-way win. A win for teachers, a win for students, and a win for society. And when you can bring the two groups, the parents and the family, the parents and the teachers together, enhances it. And I know that, as you know, the meetings, the parent team meetings, are 3 times a year, and so I'm going to be able to get to see them in May. So I look forward to the May opportunity. And the other thing I did get to do was, as Mark did, was attend the Chegwin Orchestra Band Choir. And one thing that struck me, and beyond what Mark had said, was there was one young fifth grade lady that appeared in all. She appeared in the orchestra, she was in the band, she was in the choirs. So, good
Awesome.
for her.
Yeah.
And good for Chegwin.
Awesome. I myself did not get into any schools, but I did visit the fine art exhibit at the library for the 2nd time. I'm just blown away by some of the stuff that is done out there by our kids. Is you don't think that, you know what I mean? These guys are doing that, but it's been a little bit transformational for me to go and see that now twice. So, great job. So, that being said, it will close board member, student, staff activities. We'll move on to our second public comment session of the night. Anyone wishing to approach the board, please do so. Just remember 5 minutes per person, 10 minutes per topic.
Hello, Shari.
Hi.
Trotter. We all know just in life that when you feel like you belong, you usually have better outcomes, you do better, get along with others, just a lot of things when you feel like you belong. So as many times as I sat in the back, as many times as I filled out that survey for all my kids, I cannot remember if race is one of the things that you can check. I didn't think so. So I don't know if that can be something that can be changed in the future, because when you only have 48% of your whole student population feeling like they belong, it's time to find out who and why. Like, that put another dagger in my heart. So we need to find out who and why. We're not even at 50% for the kids feeling like they belong in their school or their classroom. That's really sad and disheartening to me. So I hope that's something that we can delve into further. Not that we haven't been, but I'm saying we need to find this out. And I feel like if we put a race category in there, that might help out a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Anyone else want to come forward?
I guess I would like to just comment further on the spelling bee.
Oh, just
Oh, I
hold tight.
Next agenda
Hold
item,
tight.
yep.
Seeing no one, we will close the second public comment for the evening, and we will move on to additional appropriate matters.
I would like to
Mrs. Pinal.
on the spelling bee, because it was something that I was confused about, surprised, and very concerned about. And there's been a lot of concern expressed. So I am glad that the school district has had the opportunity to remove the stumbling blocks from the, and take another look and hopefully resurrect the spelling bee. That's all.
Thank you.
I also had a few thoughts about that, just the comments that we've been getting. I just want to make sure that people understand that that's kind of a false equivalence to draw with sports and art and music and those kinds of things. There is not competition as part of trying to build understanding of those things. The practice time is private, and it is something that kids can take their time with. So to throw kids out, and expect them to be learning as they're doing a spelling bee might be a little bit disingenuous. And also just the rote memorization aspect of it, that is the absolute bottom of Bloom's taxonomy, which is the ranking of the difficulty of knowledge that's going on when students are interacting with subjects. When you don't want to hit the high points of Bloom's taxonomy, you're talking about understanding and application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. So as far as spelling, that's finding patterns, that's trying to figure out things from context. I'm always a little bit giddy when I have a student who will say, pronounce words like epitome and quinoa and knigget and salmon. That means that those students are trying to challenge themselves with reading texts that are harder than they know, and they're learning while they're doing that. And it takes someone reading with them, or someone to say the words out loud with them so that they can learn words like those and learn their pronunciations. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will learn them during something that they're trying to practice rote memorization. And I just made a note of a few words that some students that I was reading with this morning learned: Albuquerque, camouflage, audiovisual, compote, graffiti, capoeira, decipher. Now those are things that they were reading in textbooks, or reading in actually storybooks as they were going along. So they do get they do learn to spell by reading, and I just wanted to point that out. And the whole idea of all men being created equal, well, I think that's the argument we're making here, isn't it? Some people aren't good at sports. Some people aren't good at other things. Some people are good at spelling. So yes, let's give all of our students a chance to do what they excel at, but let's keep the competition maybe as an extracurricular aspect.
Thank you.
I was just going to, if I can jump in, number one, they should just read the names of, when I have to read names of resignations and new hires, that's harder than
It's always fun,
afterwards.
isn't it? Yeah.
So, one thing I wanted to ask, because you had news articles that said one thing about the spelling bee. Then we have different, I guess I just want to ask a direct question. It was canceled, and because the newspaper said one thing, I did not hear that from you. Can you be very clear, Dr. Flagg, on why it was canceled and now why we're going to reconsider?
I think there's a philosophical piece that we just do not, we struggle to see the value of it from an educational standpoint. And I think it also was, what we deal with is when students, it's a lot of pressure on a student to deliver this word, to get it right in front of folks. So we struggle with that philosophically. That's not learning. Second part here is it was really a lot of resources, and I think that
that's what I was hearing earlier.
Yeah, the Mr. Narrett. But there were other reasons. We just didn't agree philosophically. We just don't agree with it right now where we're at. And I think that the other thing is, I just would like to challenge our stakeholders, is that 36% of our students can read at grade level. I wish I would get this kind of feedback with that as equivalent over canceling a spelling bee, because that's really what we do here, is we teach the kids how to read, how to write, how to do math, how to think critically. And I think that is, to that end, I think it's important the stakeholders have spoken, and we're going to bring it back, but we're going to have to share it. But I think we're going to have to share the responsibility to keep it going. But it's not a good use of our human capital to put this together every year at the end of the day.
I'd like to say some more things that about what the spelling bee does provide for the kids that are interested in this and wanting to participate in it. It does require a lot of strength, a lot of practicing, a lot of commitment, goal setting and commitment to a goal, and then following through, taking the time, doing the sacrifice, and persevering. And because of that, it also provides courage. And courage is an experience that people need in life. And if this is, I believe that teachers teach themselves and their values as well as focusing indirectly and focusing on the academics not second, but their discipline as in addition. And so the courage aspect alone is important because Babe Ruth said it better, I think, and he said, never let the fear of striking out prevent you from getting up to bat. So this is the reason that I think it provides an opportunity for some kids that would never have that opportunity otherwise. Same thing is not only due as you don't think it's for academics, but I think all of those things are required for academics. I think all of those things are required for athletics, band, orchestra, choir, play participation.
I see your point. I think there's other ways for children to push themselves to higher levels, even without the competition aspect of it. So, yeah.
Okay.
And I look at it as another opportunity for engagement. I just want kids engaged in activities and like you said, one thing might not be a strength for them, but another might. And the more opportunities we can create for them to be engaged in something, you know, that's the way I look at it and say, you know, both my kids are, I think 3 of my 4 participated in this school one, and it was fun. You know, they didn't go on beyond their own individual grade school, but it was fun for them to participate, and it was exciting to do. But that's my biggest thing is engagement. Create opportunity for engagement for everybody at all levels. I mean, find something for somebody to do something with. So.
Well, in my strength, I come at this from a math nerd perspective, where the rote learning kind of competition, when students are trying to learn, if you ever think back to time tests and around the world, that was I loved it, ate it up. But that was scarring for a lot of my classmates. I find many college students come with math phobias and things like that because of experiences like that. So I would not want reading to become a thing like that students are being held back by. There you go. Okay. Yeah. But so the competition aspect, when kids are starting to learn, does not generally advance their learning. It generally takes them a step back. So that was my experience. I just want to share that. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, we'll close additional appropriate matters. Move on to adjournment to the workshop.
I'll move that the Board of Education adjourn the regular meeting and convene in a workshop to discuss district benefits renewal planning.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Usselman, seconded by Mr. Godfrey. We have the roll, please.
Pennell?
Yes.
Usselman, yes. Godfrey?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Horth?
Yes.
Motor?
Yes.
Schreider?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. We are adjourned at 6:07 p.m. We will be back at 6:25 p.m. for the workshop.
Got a little squirrel action going on there.
You noticed there's like a pretzel bun or new bun. And so that was going on. So, all right, I'm ready whenever you are, Mr. Schreider.
Workshop for the Fond du Lac Board of Education called to order at 6:29 PM. Can we have the roll, please?
Yes. There we go. Godfrey?
Here.
Henschel?
Here.
Forth? Here. Motor? Here. Pennell?
Here.
Uselman, yes, and Schreider.
Here, we are all here. We are going to turn this over to Mr. Gerlach in discussion of the district benefit renewal planning.
Thank you, Mr. Schreider. I'll be at the podium as the presentation is going to be on my device here. So what I'd like to introduce to you is Mr. Jay Scott of USI, our employee benefits agency. And so we've been working together as a board finance committee, Mr. Henschel, Mr. Godfrey, and tonight I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Scott to walk through a presentation that was shared with you as well, and we'll have a discussion on district benefits planning, and as this time of year is we typically bring renewals and benefit plans to you. So with that, I'd like to invite Jay up to, we'll go from our presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hope I don't give any of you indigestion.
Mark already did that to me.
Well, he's got a habit of doing that. So the agenda will also be part of tonight's workshop in and of itself. So update on the Quartz medical renewal for July 1st of this year. They calculated the renewal at a 9.26% increase. If you recall, we did negotiate a cap of 8.5% at last year's renewal time, and I was able to negotiate the increase down to 5.9%. It will be a short year with a 4.5% rate cap as far as the renewal going to 1/1 of 25. And the reason why we negotiated a short year was so that we could thoroughly explore self-funding in the coming months with hopeful to have a January 1st adoption date of that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So any questions on the renewal and the strategy there?
Hey, Jay, what's loss ratio target 93.6? What's trending, right? Give us a little background on medical trend, what that means, and what, when you look at 8.5, 5.9, and versus the trend.
So right now at the average employer rate increase for 2024 nationally was probably 6.5, 7%. Okay, and when carriers measure trend or calculate trend in a renewal calculation, the medical trend right now, including prescription drugs, is probably at 10 or 11%. That's their expectation of how claims are going to rise over the next 12-month period. So 5.9 is good in the general scheme of things from a comparable standpoint. And with a 95% loss ratio, it's also good. But again, that's their loss ratio calculation. We also negotiated the long-term disability program with NIS to be a no rate increase or another year of pass. And that will be for a 12-month period, 7/1 of 2024 to 7/1 of 2025. I will point to an exhibit in a couple minutes. We did take the long-term disability insurance out to market. Either carriers declined to quote or did not match the benefits or would not match the benefits as far as your 90% benefit level. And a couple carriers did show us savings, but that would drastically be changing the benefits to either 60% or 66 2/3. All right. So we also looked at, well, what would we save, if anything, if we changed NIS from 90% to 60% or 66 2/3? And the savings in the general scheme of things was pretty minute as far as why disrupt a good benefit like you have today with the staff, especially since we probably are planning to save, or excuse me, change service providers in other areas in the coming 6 months. So any questions on that? And this is the spreadsheet, which I believe you all have, showing the alternative programs with NIS and also the quotes from 4 carriers that did submit a proposal. So again, my recommendation was to keep it where it is, and not disrupt the benefit with the staff. Any questions on that? Okay, then we'll go into the main part of this evening, and that's the self-insurance workshop or exploration. And what we have done is we did a detailed analysis of the claims and premiums you paid over the last 3 years. And from that, we were able to calculate a visualization of what it would have meant in the last 3 years if you would have been self-funded versus fully insured like you were. We're going to talk a little bit how we can capitalize from a fiscal standpoint on being self-funded. I do mention a couple of other groups your size that are local school districts that are self-funded, have been self-funded for years, and also talk about what responsibilities, if any, would change for the school district, but really nothing. And just to put this in perspective, today you're really not fully insured because you have your HRA or health reimbursement account benefits, so you're buying a high deductible or a higher deductible from Quartz. You're putting in the middle a health reimbursement account benefit, so the staff sees actually a deductible that's about half of what you're buying. So that on the spectrum, that would put you right in the middle at a carrier partially self-funded program. And so really what we're talking about is the next step, and that is going partially self-funded with a third-party administrator. But actually, when I say partially self-funded, it's because we would buy reinsurance to protect the school district's self-funded plan against catastrophic claims. So, and way at the end where it says totally self-funded, those are very large employers that are self-funded but don't buy any reinsurance, don't have any catastrophic coverage whatsoever. They just assume the risk for any and all claims that come in. So the savings I'm going to show you in a minute, this is where it comes from. So on the left-hand side, this is you today as far as the financial makeup of your plan. You've got your medical claims, you've got your pharmacy benefits bundled with Quartz, you have administrative fees, and you have pooling point charges. Pooling point charges are really what reinsurance is in the self-funded world. That means that at a certain level, if a claim is, say, $200,000, some of that claim would not be counted against you or calculated in your renewal rates. So think of a pooling charge as the same thing as buying reinsurance, except you're paying for it inside your fully insured plan. And then you have risk margins. That's the carrier's profit, even if they are non-for-profit. And then you have ACA premium taxes that they have to pay on your behalf to the federal government. Accountable Care Act, healthcare reform taxes. When you go self-funded and we move to the right, we can unbundle your PBM and not have it be in cahoots per se with the insurance carrier as far as making money that way, not being transparent in how they're making that money, et cetera. So we get to pick the best PBM out there for you besides a medical plan administrator. You would have your administrative fees, which would basically be the same as your administrative fees today from a cost standpoint. And then we would also shop the marketplace for your stop loss. So we wouldn't have the TPA tell us who the stop-loss carrier is going to be or quote that stop-loss, we would market that and also have that be a freestanding entity connected to your self-funded plan. And you can see then you have a rather large margin from a prediction standpoint or objective standpoint compared to being fully insured, and that margin is where we would save the money.
Can you explain the difference between the pharmacy bundling on the fully insured versus the unbundled? What does that mean for our staff who?
Doesn't mean anything for your staff.
Okay.
It means it's an impact to your fiscal well-being. So today, for example, Courts partners with Optum as your prescription benefit manager. And Optum is giving 100% of rebates back to Courts, and Courts is keeping those.
Got it.
All right? So that's why when we unbundle that relationship, and there's other ways they're making money in regard to drugs too, as far as spread pricing, and that's a whole workshop in and of itself, if you ever want to learn about that. But that's why the unbundled solution is smaller than the bundled solution, because what we'll end up doing is negotiating a contract with a PBM where the school district gets 100% of those rebates back, which right now is probably between $650,000 and $700,000.
So are there a lot of choices of those out there? The
Oh, yeah.
unbundled? Okay. And they work with our local pharmacies if people want that? It doesn't have to be like a by mail kind of a system or anything? Okay.
No, you'll see, again, assuming we do go down the path of self-funding, you will see no difference in your network as far as pharmacies that you have today, and most likely you will see an expanded medical plan network.
Okay. Thank you.
So Mike asked me to make this purposely small.
Big numbers make them smaller, right?
I'll cut to the chase, though. If you go to the far right and that middle grid, over a 3-year period, what that is saying, based on our analysis, the school district, had they been self-funded, would have saved over $2.8 million.
Whoa.
And that $2.8 million of savings would not have come out of any staff's pocket. That's not assuming any benefit changes, any change in contributions, et cetera. The only thing that assumes is being self-funded versus fully insured, or setting up an alternative funding arrangement with your plan, with the objective being to secure a sustainable, from a fiscal standpoint, a sustainable budget to continue offering a high-value, high-quality benefit plan. With, again, the savings not coming from benefit changes, contribution changes, the savings coming from what Courts is keeping today and getting that money back for you. So self-funding in and of itself does not cause a change in benefits and does not disrupt anything except for a few minor areas from the standpoint that you would have different service providers than you have today, and that does cause some changes or differences, up and down.
Is there, and this might be a question for you, Mr. Gerlach, but how do we, knowing that a lot of our employees do go to our local, have we looked to see if they accept or would accept if we go down this road? So, for example, SSM, Aurora. I also think about, we have our Fondy Cares program, another mental health providers that are in our that come to our schools, and we worked hard to ensure that they had Quartz so that our teachers could access that. So then how do, that's, maybe it's now, maybe it's later on, but we set that up really specifically to ensure that our staff would be able to access that. And so just, is there a way we can look ahead of time or ensure that we set things up ahead of time so that there'll be continuous services for children that are accessing that?
So, since this is your first time changing the funding of your health plan, we're going to keep it somewhat simple and not get too crazy with how we set it up. And so there's a good chance after we're all done with the RFP and the quoting process and financial analysis, you'll probably wind up with either United Healthcare as your TPA or Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield as your TPA. And again, like I said earlier, you'll probably have a broader network than you have today. It includes SSM, includes Aurora, includes Freighter, Children's,
Beautiful.
Prevea, if you go north, includes Bell, includes Gunderson.
Great.
So.
Thank you.
Kind of piggybacking on what Katie was asking, then would we still have an employee clinic where they could go to?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, again, there's nothing about going self-funding that's going to change or take away any benefits in and of itself from the staff.
Okay.
And I think, being self-funded and being more in charge of your own destiny per se, with proper guidance from firms like ours, that clinic will be even more important to have from a health management, cost management standpoint.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on the financials? So again, today, being fully insured, you're bundled. So everything is coming from one entity, one way or another. And when we talk about unbundling, when you're self-funded and the proper alignment of different areas of the self-funded program, you can save money from prescription drug coverage placement, stop-loss coverage or the reinsurance, and also the claims administration. So you're not going to take on any significant risks. You'll be properly mitigated. That'll be properly mitigated with the reinsurance. But you'll know that you have something more competitive than what's built into your premium today for those pooling charges. And also, you're going to reap considerable monies from having a different prescription drug setup than you have today, without disrupting their network, without disrupting the benefit plan. And Dr. Flagg, you should have told me to come back at 6:30 instead of 6.
Just want to make sure you're on, I want to make sure we're early, all right?
So-
You never know. Apologize for that.
Mr. Schreider, if I may, for the board, tactically, this is a workshop tonight. This is a chance for you to have this presented. Both members of the Finance Committee have been working through this for a number of months already, this analysis. And so really what we're looking to do with you may recall last year, we moved our the district dental employee benefit plan to a self-funded model with Delta Dental, our former fully insured carrier, partner who we pay bills, really being the third-party administrator for it. So I think it's an example of what Jay has mentioned is we're going to have that chance to pick that network, so to speak. Now, we don't, at the granular level, Mrs. Motor, say that provider's in, that provider's out. And that's, once in a while, we'll get that feedback like, well, don't you just pick each individual provider? No, we're talking systems level, okay? So we can work through that process, but I think that's an important consideration that you need to understand. You have some flexibility, and we'll have, like Jay mentioned, probably an opportunity to really maybe access, perhaps, networks we don't necessarily have right now when we move to the HMO, but that's not a guarantee. So what we're presenting tonight is really a 6-month renewal with our current fully insured model. You may know our health plan renewal runs from July 1st to June 30th. We will be presenting at the next meeting a renewal with our fully insured model of Quartz from July 1st to December 31st, with the idea that we are going to be working through this process that Jay described on self-funding in terms of the network and plan design for members. So this is not effective for July 1st. I want to put that out there so that there isn't any misunderstanding that we're really presenting a 6-month renewal of the current health plan at a 5.9% employee premium or at an overall in premium increase. And so, and that's what's going to be presented and the board would have to take action on. And the only thing, at that time. That's the only action item or commitment you would be asked to make at the next ensuing board meeting. I want to kind of be clear about that, but intentionally, we do believe it's important to move the direction of self-funding. That's not, I mean, you're not acting on that at the moment, but at the same time, we do believe it's a more fiscally sustainable model, and as the board, I know you're grappling with budgets, and this is part of that process. You can see the dollar spend that the district has and could have possibly saved, that could have been provided budget relief over the past several years. We just believe it's really fiscally important and prudent to really do this thorough analysis. This is why we're presenting this tonight. It's to preserve a really high-quality benefit with the goal of fiscal sustainability, and improving outcomes, of health outcomes for our members. So I just kind of wanted to reiterate that point of what we're putting forward, and I'd entertain any questions on what I've presented to you at this point with that. Go ahead, Mrs. Uselman.
Just something coming to mind. So the premiums, now when you figured the savings, that was like with the employees paying the same premiums that they were paying to courts? Then they
You mean
would,
the same
they would,
contributions?
correct, and they would have paid that to us, and that's how we would have come out? Okay. So if courts is a major company or whatever, they can take a little bit of a fiscal hit if, inflation is huge or whatever. It may not trickle down to us as, I know they do still try to hit you with that, but are we going to have trouble if we have lots of costs as a district? Are we going to have to pass that directly on to our employees as premium increases in the upcoming years?
Unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
So all I can say is we'll set your plan up as much as possible to succeed. But then also do things, whether it's employee education, communication, other types of benefits that we don't have access to today because we're insured with courts, and benefits that are actually a win-win with the staff. And I'll give you an example in a second, in order to mitigate that from happening. But at least you have control that you don't have today.
Yeah, so that was my second question, was if we do come out ahead and employees are really engaged and really doing great things and we end up with fewer claims than we expected and so, can we return some of that back to the employees then if we have a good year?
You can
Or
do
how does that
whatever you
work?
decide to do.
Okay,
But you always want to keep, when you're self-funded, one thing you don't do today, so from a financial standpoint or fiscal standpoint, one thing that will change, you have to maintain a reserve on your balance sheet.
okay. Kind of like our
And
general fund
that
or?
reserve
Okay.
on your balance sheet is just in case someday your plan goes away and you pay claims that were incurred but not yet processed. So you do have to maintain that reserve. Now, normally in a perfect world, that reserve is established the first 3 months you're self-funded
Okay.
because your plan isn't paying hardly any claims yet.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because claims are
There's a
incurred.
lag
The
in
last
the,
3 months of
got
the
it.
year is a
Yep,
lag,
mhm.
right.
Okay,
All right.
that makes sense. Thank
But
you.
then other than that reserve, excess funds or coming in under budget, you guys can decide what's the best thing to do from a fiscal standpoint.
No,
Okay.
I do want to piggyback on what you just said, though, Linda, is
Yeah.
it's now more important that our employees, or as we go into this, that our employees get more engaged than what they have been, because now we own the results. If we have a really good year now, maybe courts would say, oh, I would give you a 3% increase or a 0, and they made a bunch of money on us. Now, in the future, if we own this, I always say fully insured is like renting insurance, self-funded is like owning it. We own it now. So if we have really good years, now that is a discussion versus courts just pocketing it or a carrier pocketing
Right.
it. So I encourage the employees as we start having meetings, we're not going into this model yet, but we are going to have open enrollment in May. We're going to have educational. I think last year we had, 5 people show up?
There's been minimal attendance.
It was 5.
Was it
was
was it
bad.
recorded so people? was
It's
it
not recorded.
Oh,
Or-
could we record it so people could watch it later if they chose to?
And I'll address that. Mr. Henschel is absolutely right. We will, it's driven by claims. The costs are driven by claims among primarily some of those. And really what we're trying to do is get into a more sustainable fiscal model with our health insurance. And we wouldn't do that if we didn't believe there was an opportunity to get into that. I know it's no secret in the state of Wisconsin that districts are struggling financially. You just have to take any news story of districts having to consider, whether it's referendums expense reductions. This is our second largest budget item, and it deserves serious consideration, but it's a very impactful budget item, so it's taken very seriously. So as you recall, we've tried for stability 4 years ago when we made the switch from a really wide network to an HMO model. That was to put us on a more sustainable track, and it did do that. We need to do it again, is where we're at, and we wouldn't do that if we didn't think we could have an opportunity to provide fiscal stability. So at the heart of the matter is, we want our members to be healthier and more engaged, like Mr. Henschel said. And so to have that is to try to continue to provide a high-quality benefit and not, to be straightforward, Linda, I would not probably recommend a savings in 1 year simply be turned over to other budgetary areas, but to try to provide stability on the health plan in the form. I have colleagues in other districts that say, you know what, I haven't had to raise my employee premiums, my monthly premiums on the district for years because our self-funded plan has trended positively.
Yeah.
Right now, members will still realize that an employee premium share, less money in
Right.
their net paycheck because of the increases. So that would be our recommendation, to try to get to a stable increase in a high inflationary market. And so that's really the reason we're exploring this. But it's going to take member engagement, and we're going to have other strategies that go forward into that.
I look at it, it's a true partnership between membership and administration. It's not successful unless we do it together.
We all kind of control it together.
We
right?
do.
Mhm.
We're in it together. Where if you got an insurance carrier, they hold a lot of pull the strings. Where now because I always said to members, wow, if I go here, versus there, does it really impact? And going forward, yeah, it really does impact, because those dollars are the school's dollars now, not the insurance carrier's dollars. So we really want to educate. We're going to invest in education, for employees on how to purchase healthcare, maybe a little bit more wiser than before. What are the options? A lot of people didn't know, hey, I didn't know that was an option, that I can access it that way. So we want to be able to offer a really good benefit plan going forward, so we can attract and retain employees. I mean, that's critical. We're all fighting for employees, right? In our healthcare or in education. So it's important to maintain it good.
Yeah, and so to that end, and I said I'd give you an example, so about things we can do that we can't do today with courts because of our limited flexibility with them. So if I was to ask you, what's the number one, maybe two or three, but it's always in the top three, healthcare cost an employer, or claims cost an employer has in their plan? What would you guess?
Cancer,
Nope.
Babies?
Nope.
mental health,
Nope.
Falls?
Huh?
Falls? Like you wipe
Falls.
out?
You're getting warm.
Yeah, well, I
Like
remember that,
accidents,
like
yeah.
injury, in.
So
yeah,
musculoskeletal care,
that's what I said.
yeah, you use the acronym FALL.
That spells falls.
So, believe it or not, musculoskeletal care for most employers is their number one healthcare expense as far as total claims cost. And so what's really popular now, and we've done it for a lot of employers, employees love it, we've put in virtual musculoskeletal, or virtual PT programs. We are actually, and
Have one right now with Sword.
yeah, Sword's a carrier
Yeah,
we use,
professional.
Hinge Health, what do you
Yep.
think about it?
Good. It's great.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
The
So-
technology today is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You're at home, you're at work with time off, you get your physical therapy in. It's hard to see a
Absolutely.
physical therapist. It's 100% benefit for the
Get it
employees.
sent right. Get it sent right to you.
Yep, and you avoid possibly, 30% of the time you'll avoid having surgery that way.
So
So
you
that's the
look,
kind of stuff we can do, and it's a win-win. It's a value-added benefit because it
Yeah.
benefits the employees and it benefits you.
It's all done.
so you learn the exercises online or something, or
No,
where-
so
where's it a?
so let's say, what are you getting done, your rotacuff, knee,
Rotator cuff.
rotator cuff? So they sent him a kit for that particular type of therapy.
Yep.
And that kit has
Oh.
sensors.
Okay.
Yep.
And so either on your phone or on a laptop, when you have a self-appointment, you're going through that and doing that. And the AI, the artificial intelligence. is
It'll read what
incredible.
you're doing
They'll
and
tell
tell
if
you
you're
good
doing
or
it
not
wrong.
good. Okay,
Yep.
interesting.
And
It
they're
guides you right
monitoring
through it.
everything, so you better be doing it right.
It's not HIPAA if he volunteers it. Okay.
I've been through a lot of training.
I mean, you
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
got an iPad with SOAR too, didn't you? Yep.
Nice. Okay. Interesting. I have one more question until I think of another one. Did we still able to do cash in lieu with this system, or would we?
So right now, what you're mentioning, Mrs. Uselman, is the alternative benefit for members that elect not to enroll in the district health insurance plan. They receive a benefit in lieu of taking that. We are currently proposing maintaining that. It's not I know there's been in the past that we've coupled that conversation together with this. Right now, presented before you tonight and at the next board meeting is going to be, as I mentioned before, a 6-month renewal, reflecting a 5.9% premium increase with our current fully insured carrier, Quartz. And we're workshopping, telling you the intention for that 6-month renewal, because in the past, we would have presented a 12-month renewal, and we're not doing that tonight. So right now, we're not bringing forward a change to the maintenance of insurance benefit.
And if we adopt the 6-month, there's no going back. Can we, if we decide that self-insurance is not the way to go, can we grab Quartz again in January and move along with that, or no?
Yeah, we have a 4.5% rate cap for January 1st as a safety net.
Okay. All right. That's what that. Okay. That's what that extra line meant. Thank you.
I want to be clear, and I agree with you. We cannot predict the future that way, but we would not be bringing this forward to you, and the committee would not have grappled with this for a number of months if we didn't think this was the right step forward. All right, and if there are members or people that are concerned, it's incumbent on us. We will be working on that education part of it. And if they have a specific concern, they can always direct that to me, and I will do my best to respond to their question or concern. The intention, Mrs. Usman, is not to not do this, and that's why we're talking about it now here at the end of March for you. So, but we understand that there could be questions and concerns about it, and we want to provide the resources that USI can have at availability, and we can have members connected with them as an agency, and we can work through any questions they have. But back to probably Mr. Henschel's point, I do believe members actually attending our open enrollment meetings and asking questions or getting questions that we can do a frequently asked questions that we can help build that. That's a level of engagement. A lot of times what I've found is many members have a same question, and it's an easy question to answer, and it's the fear of the unknown that holds them back, and we want to assuage them of that.
So, Mr. Gerlach, is this something that we could do then? Because I know questions are coming in already, and I know we have some employees here, and so could we almost start a Q&A already with some of the questions that we've already asked? Because it seems like there might be some angst, and if we can take care of that right away.
Certainly. I think that's completely appropriate, and that's part of the feedback we were looking to get tonight. Absolutely. We can begin working on that as administration.
And I just want to help with that. This is a true different approach on how we fund healthcare. We're not changing benefits.
Right.
The nice thing is with this, we have more control on that versus, you switch from one carrier to another. We don't have that benefit available, or that copay available, or that deductible available. You have to switch it now. You got to go to this, or you got to go to that. As a self-funded model, we can get to control that now as an organization, which is nice because then we can work with the employees and with the members to maintain a good benefit. So most members are going to say, how is it affecting me? How is it affecting my pocketbook and things like that? Our intention is not to change benefits.
And so I think we have to have that in writing. If these are questions we're asking that we know the answer to, I know there's going to be a lot of questions we don't know the answers to. But for example, some of the answers that you shared already tonight, I know will make some of our employees feel better. So if we can even put that in, like I said, just a Q&A. And then I had a question, Mr. Scott, you had said, and maybe this was coming at a different meeting, but that there were other districts that participate.
Sure. So just if we look, Sheboygan School District, Manitowoc School District, they've probably been self-funded for over 20 years.
Okay.
Oshkosh,
Oshkosh is
Appleton,
self-funded.
Wyega, Fremont, as small as
Appleton
they
is
are.
self-funded.
But again, I think this is good
No.
for our employees to hear that their neighbors are participating in something like this.
West Bend,
Yeah.
I think, is self-funded.
If I may point out, and I know a lot happens in 1 year. You may recall, you grappled with a decision last year on the benefits renewal.
Yep.
Even with a rate cap, that was fiscally not viable for the district because of the budget situation. It's my job to remind us all that, and put that toward, this is part of that motivation of having to address this large issue. And you doubled the deductible last year. You voted to, not in a negative way, but because that was the type of decision you wrestled with and had to go. You know, we don't have a lot of options when it comes to that fiscally in a fully insured model, besides putting to you what you had to act on last year, which is, well, if I want to lower my increase and save or reduce expenses, I have to change plan design. There's just very few levers to pull. I've used that analogy in the past, and we want more of those at our disposal. I can't guarantee that there isn't change to that. But I want you to understand that's the motivation here, is really to get the district health plan pointed in a more fiscally sustainable direction to preserve it.
You know, and the two key words as you talk about any of these programs is education and engagement. Plain and simple, because any questions that are out there can be answered, or we'll find the answers for it. And that's what it is. For one, we all have to be willing to engage in those conversations. And I know what we do for the company that I work for in those conversations and how long of a process that is, and I know the education that goes behind it. We're no longer at a point where you can just drop something in and expect it to be okay. You know, and I think we've done that for a long, long time, is it's okay, especially when it comes to benefits, it's all right, I have benefits, you know what I mean? And you kind of put that to the side. So I think for any of this work, to work from any standpoint, those two words are huge, is education and engagement. We can do, and the district can do all their part in terms of educating and getting all the information. Mr. Scott, Mr. Gerlach, the finance committee, you know, and it's engaging with people. It really is. So I'm excited about to learn more about this and how this can help all of our people and the district itself.
I do want to say one more thing, just to piggyback or follow up to some stuff that Michael said. We could do this July 1st, because nobody's asked the question yet why we're not doing it July 1st. But what we're really doing is we're fixing something that's been broke here for a long time. What?
You're going to
What, here, I retract mine, go ahead. So, so your renewal has been July 1st to July 1st. Your benefits have been January 1st to January 1st. So every time you had to make a benefit change, you're damaging a staff member, right? Because they could have satisfied their deductible already, and now they gotta start all over again midstream. So the reason why we're not looking at self-funding July 1st is because we also want to change your renewal date, your budgetary date, let's call it, to match your benefit period. So that kind of stuff goes away. So that's really we're doing, the timing is really to benefit your staff instead of, you know, the way we're doing it.
and it gives
And
us.
the other thing, if we did it July 1st, we'd have a mess because people would have so much satisfied toward the deductible, toward their out-of-pocket. We'd be dealing with those accumulation situations, trying to get all that data into a new administrator so claims are processed properly, and then you would see some complaint.
Chaos.
Well, and I would add, Jay, to that is, we also want to take the time to educate the employees, you know, going into that new year and helping them understand, you know, more about their health insurance and more about healthcare. And we feel it's important to take those extra 6 months to spend that time to educate too, in addition to all that other things that he said.
And I can share, prior to my current position, I was part of the insurance and have moved to the place where I work right now is on we do have our own, I'm sorry, thank you,
Self-funded?
self-funded. And as an employee who switched companies, I didn't feel any difference between the two being the district taking care of it and self-funded. So,
Any other questions, thoughts? Mr. Scott? Mr. Gerlach?
Just one, do we need any additional staff to help make this happen?
Well, you know, I do believe we have a very lean business office staff, and we've had transitions in that. I would always ask for probably some more staff because, you know, it's my responsibility to be responsible for a $100 million operation. And I think when you compare the two, I would say we could use more staff there, if I'm really being honest. Now, we have great partners that say maybe I don't think it's going to be as bad as it is, but I do want to put out that we may have to address that. Now we're not actively got a job posting looking for that, but this is a serious operation, and the education component is something we've grappled with for a long time as well to engage members. And there are different districts. You go to the WASB conventions and you hear how they address employee engagement when it comes to employee health. I mean, there's just a certain amount of time that organizations have to commit to this, and our staff is lean, and I'm not trying to complain about that, but it's difficult to ask them to do that deep level of education with employees, and this is our most important asset. And so I would say I could envision a space if we were really an exemplar model and a self-funded model where we have staffing dedicated to this to really make it effective, because members have a ton of questions and they need a lot of support, as they should. So that's a long way to say Mrs. Usman is, yeah, I think we should.
Probably, okay.
Well, but I want to make it clear, it's not just because we're going to this
It's
type
not.
of funding.
Right.
It's
Right.
truly because he's already short-staffed, and if we're going to own this as a district, it's our money now, it might be worth the investment. Where if we did it for courts, all we're doing is helping them, we're not helping ourselves,
I'll
you know,
give you-
in that sense.
Pardon me, I'll give you an example. We talk a lot about employee wellness and employee engagement. And it ultimately comes down to individual member decision. And when we talk to members, most of them say, you know, I just either don't know where to start, how to get started. I need a helping hand. What do I do? I need some of that education. And that is best done in the one-to-one, building that relationship. We've talked about, for example, popular now and highly effective mental health navigators, helping people navigate something that's really personal and very difficult. There are programs in schools that have health navigators, highly successful ones, to help people navigate that. Now, we have some of that for support through our fully insured model, but it's not like having that person that's here. And so I do agree with you, Mr. Henschel. It's not just because we would be approaching self-funding. We probably could have used that for a long time. And so I think if we are truly committed to getting better, that might be something we're going to bring forward. But it's not at this moment. I want to put it out there because I do see it as a need. And I think we could really improve and move the needle with that. So
Great question, Linda.
Did you have something before? No. Is it appropriate at all to let the back of the room shout questions if they have them?
Shout. Shout.
Is there anything you want to know?
I'm wondering about biometric screen and the survey, if that would stick around. I know there's probably not a direct answer to that right now, but a thought as part of the future.
well, I'll repeat the question for because we have the microphones, and I don't know from the audience. The question was regarding the current district health plan for members that elect to take the district health insurance only. They, the subscribing employee, and their adult spouse, not adult children, we incentivize. We have a benefit program that incentivizes them to earn a reduced premium share of 13% instead of 25%. By doing two components in a calendar year, which is taking an online health risk assessment as a way to gauge group health and practices, and then a strategy several years ago, at least 2 years ago, that we've moved to is engaging with getting once in a calendar year a visit with a primary care provider. And the rationale, as before, is at USI and their benchmark group said, if you engage with a primary care provider, having that conversation about preventative care, preventative age, gender-appropriate screenings, statistically, you avoid long-term, high-cost claimants. Early diagnosis of cancer, early change of metabolic risk syndromes, diabetes, heart disease, diet and lifestyle. Before, the district did short, brief, on-site biometric screens, which are great, but they only measured a very small amount of biometric factors. There's so much more to a person's individual health that you can talk to with a primary care provider. Frankly, we felt that was a good investment, and I can't prove this out, Jay, but I've seen our experience rates in the 90% when they were in the 120% with our other carriers. I have to believe some of those efforts have some positivity of avoiding a single, 2, 3, 4 high-cost claimants. So it's a long way to say I'm real passionate about this, mostly because I've seen and heard a number of anecdotal stories of, man, I'm so glad you had me go to that primary care provider because I caught this, I screened this. I don't look for this. People stop in my office and tell me these things, and it's really compelling, not only on the data side. So yes, to the question, we would propose keeping that for those reasons, particularly the visit to the primary care provider, engaging with them. And we would certainly consult. It's not up to me as the individual, but we don't see it right now as a huge upside of moving away from that model of getting primary care. We want to expand primary care and enhance use at our employee clinic because we want members getting health care, access to health care in a positive way sooner rather than later, not avoiding medical conditions. So that's a long way to say, yes, we'd keep that program.
So one of the barriers could be, or may have been in our area, it was impossible to find a new provider if you needed a new practitioner or family provider. But now that Freighter's opened, as well as Aurora, as well as SSM, I know that there are more opportunities, which I think is nice, as well as we do have our clinic. So I think that's expanded from where we would have been a year ago.
But, I mean, and two, with technology, the possibilities with virtual medicine are crazy, because now we're starting to see being able to have a primary care provider virtually. So never see them in person, but have your exams virtually. They'll order the blood work, send it to a local lab, they'll send it back to him or her. Behavioral health. Behavioral health, there's such an access problem today. But I can tell you from experience, there doesn't seem to be an access problem with telebehavioral health. You can usually get to see a healthcare psychiatrist, psychologist, or a MSW within 48 to 72 hours. And we can't put programs like that in place either, of course. They don't want us to do that.
Can I ask a question? Maybe I'll try to phrase it as a question. In the past, we had the Health and Wellness Committee, and I think a benefit to that committee was that some of the employees could help get the message out, help educate. Mr. Gerlach has heard me say this over and over and over about education. And so, if I need to phrase this as a question, would the FEA be able to help collaborate with how we can educate our employees, so that, because we've just had kind of some ideas back here, or at least if not the FEA, just some staff members be able to help collaborate with the district for how we can best educate the members.
Yeah, well, I'll repeat the question again with the microphone situation. The question is regarding, how to improve in collaboration with our employee groups. And it's noted the district has had a committee, and we're committed to doing that collaboration is really the point. And certainly we're open to, I'm as the administrator leading it, I'm open to collaborating with that, and I do think there's a space for a level of collaboration. And so I think that's going to be an important, especially when it comes to the communication. It's probably not just enough to, email this out or say, hey, watch this quick video. This is back to, I guess, my other point is that personal connection is really important. And this is a complicated topic that people have a lot of emotion and anxiety attached to. And so I think it's important that I welcome that kind of feedback. So I will be connecting with our employee groups, the leadership, to try to build that. And it's not just one person. We do need to find out ways that, what is really the best way to reach members from now. So on
one
this.
thing I suggest to that end, instead of calling it a wellness committee or a benefits committee, call it an engagement and communications committee.
There you go.
I like that.
Because, those other committees get stale really, really fast, I tell you. But education and communication is endless.
And I wanted to add a couple of things to that. Number one is, once we go self-funded, we'll have more data, to more transparency. We'll understand what's going on. I sat in that wellness committee for a year. It was stale. I mean, there was not, they do some competitions, but there'd be like 10, 15 people participating in them. It wasn't truly engagement, in that. But the people that were there were highly engaged. That was the best part. If I can take you 30 and have 500 of you, that'd be awesome. They were champions. Some of them were great as far as champions in their buildings, but they just weren't getting the engagement. But being able to have that data, I love that retitling, Jay, on how to engagement, because
Feel free to use it.
yeah, you didn't copyright it, all right. But I really think that collaboration will be big, would be helpful, absolutely.
And I'll echo what Mr. Gerlach said about staffing and investment to do that. It is a painstaking process to get that message out. And it needs, it needs people to be able to answer those questions. It needs people to be able to talk to it, that know even in depth about it, and Mrs. Baldwin's, what you said about that collaboration, that is important, and that's kind of what, the business that I'm in, when we look at these healthcare benefits things, each single location has its own meetings for their staff. It's not just rolled out as a company, it's done at a store-by-store basis, where they have the opportunity to go in and do that. But that takes manpower, that takes time, that takes everything. So the education part and the engagement part is very important to get this right and to get us set up where we need to go. You know what I mean? And I just think that's vital.
And you have one advantage that a lot of employers don't have. All of your staff have email addresses. That I know there's probably some people that still don't read their emails, but I would say your staff is more apt to read their emails than a production worker at Mercury Marine. Because manufacturers do give their employees work emails, but they never read them. They don't use them. So.
Any other questions or thoughts for Mr. Scott or Mr. Gerlach?
I hope not. It's almost 11:30.
That's AM.
Oh.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
thank you for
Mr.
your
Scott.
time. Good night.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you for your patience. Yes.
Mr. Gerlach, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
It is motion time.
I move that the Board of Education adjourn the workshop.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr.
knows how to
Godfrey. Can we
pronounce
call
your
the roll, please?
Godfrey.
Yes.
Henschel.
Yes.
Horth.
Yes.
Motor.
Yes.
Panow.
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Schreider.
Yes, we are adjourned at 7:20.